Hi, and welcome to the next episode of Belly to Belly. And today we're going to talk about preparing for going global, a big event that's happening at Excel London, November 16th through 17th in London. And today we're joined by Peter Craven from BlueSky Video Marketing. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Bill.
Oh, absolutely. It's great to meet you and great to dig into this topic. So I'd first love to learn about, what does BlueSky Video Marketing do to help companies internationalize from the UK?
Okay, well, my background was marketing before I spent 20 years doing global marketing jobs, export marketing jobs largely, before I started the agency 5 years ago. So I suppose my career history has always been in businesses trying to do business outside of this place, which is a necessity, just because of this anybody with any ambitions to grow beyond a certain size has to be thinking about exporting in Ireland a lot earlier than probably they would do anywhere else. So again, with that being my background, just I had a network of connections in global engineering and manufacturing businesses largely. And what we'd found, and certainly in the preceding years just before I started the agency, was just how much video could help in terms of allowing you to reach so many more people than was possible before. You had to have really good distribution networks and networks in other countries, whereas the video opportunity gives manufacturing companies and anybody thinking of exporting the opportunity to actually go direct to their customers and speak directly to them and find out exactly what it is about what you do that appeals to them, and so it's used throughout the sales cycle for a lot of our customers, from that initial market research phase right through to promoting features and benefits and helping them sell more and recruit people as well. Recruitment marketing is a big part of what we do too.
Oh, that's cool. It sounds really interesting. As companies look to deploy video, I would imagine too, you're also recommending the channels they use, whether it's YouTube or LinkedIn or whatnot. Is that also a part of it?
That's a huge part of it, actually, because one of the things that my customers, I think, are fed up with me saying to them is, context matters a lot. So you have to understand not only the channel that your customers are on, but the mindset they're in when they're there. And if they're scrolling through social media channels like Facebook and or Instagram, if that's where your content is, you have to accept that you're trying to interrupt them. So grabbing attention quickly and early is very, very important. As you move further down through the sales cycle and you start to get on to things like YouTube or your own website, customers are more likely to be in research mode at that stage, so are likely to be able to be prepared to give you a little bit more time to try and find out what it is about your product that means they should buy it. There's getting on the list is the first option, is the first job. Then there's proving you can do it is the second job. Then there's providing customers proof, through your case studies and testimonials. And then there's showing them what dealing with you like, whether that be your project management approach, your retention, the different services you can offer, the added value, I suppose, that the products and services that you provide can give for their business. So one of we get approached not very often, but occasionally, to say, I need a 60-second video, and you're like, well, how do you know it has to be 60 seconds? Well, because nobody watches anything longer than 60 seconds anymore. Well, they do. People binge watch Netflix documentaries for 4 and 5 hours, maybe longer. So if you have to be able to do everything, and a different approach is needed, whether it's a 6-second ad as a bumper before a YouTube ad, or whether it's a 30-minute, 1 hour long webinar that you want people to stay and consider. The story has to be good, it has to be compelling, the content has to be interesting, and it has to be as short as you can make it, but as long as it needs to be.
Right. I think the word you used up front was perfect. Context, right? It's what's the context? And I love the stage you shared. We think of, and I think these are just different words saying the same thing, but we think awareness, intimacy, and then trust are kind of where we want it, that journey that we hope to take people through. So let's talk about going global for a moment. Obviously, we both picked that as an event to participate in. What is it about going global for you all that makes a lot of sense and is the right event?
Yeah, there's a number of factors. Listen, we're I mean, post-COVID, we're very keen to try and get back on the horse again in terms of developing the markets and customers outside of our local area. So that was one factor. Another is by virtue of the fact of thinking of an event like going global, customers are thinking about growing and thinking about developing new products and services and customers in different places, and that mindset in itself promotes, I think, a willingness to explore new things. So I think there's an opportunity to tap into that in terms of the audience that's going to be at the show, and hopefully we're able then to prove how we can help that process, because ultimately that's all we exist to do, is to try and help our customers communicate effectively the challenges that they're helping their customers to solve. And I think as going back to the earlier point, video allows customers to reach, to accelerate their reach in those new places, far more than any other communication technology. I think because it does build trust when you can see the humans that you're going to be dealing with, and customers of the people who've already bought the products and services, extolling the virtues of those products and services and telling you how great it is to work with them. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of trade shows, and pre-COVID, you almost got a little bit tired of them, because it sort of just felt like you were on a bit of a treadmill. But having them taken away for a couple of years made me appreciate just how valuable, and they are, not just from a lead generation point of view, but from a getting to talk to a lot of people in a very short space of time, that helps inform the decisions you make yourself about what direction your own products and services could go in the future.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, making those connections, and whether it's partners or people that could use your service, any of that, that's awesome. So with regard to, you mentioned you've had a lot of trade show experience, and I think our audience would love to hear any recommendations or suggestions you would have, thinking about those international companies that are looking to go into international markets from the UK. But are there particular recommendations you'd have for companies looking to get the most out of the event? What should they do to get the most out of going global?
We've always sort of broken down the activity, and it's not rocket science. I mean, it's into the pre-show, at show, and post-show stuff. And it's a bit of a cliche, but the more you put into all of those processes, the more you're likely to get out, I think. I mean, and this only comes from experience of doing trade shows for years. I mean, I was as guilty as anybody in my first few years of my career, turning up at a trade show on day one and thinking, you have those 2 or 3 days is all you have to try and extract some value from the show, and it's absolutely not the case. We've got, what are we? We're 2 months out from the show at the minute. We've been, we signed up sort of 3 or 4 weeks, maybe a couple of months ago now. So it's accepting that you've got that 4-month period. So you need to be, as well as, it's preparing for every eventuality. I mean, I've been through the list of exhibitors, like obviously you have yourself, with to find out, if we're there for 2 days and it's quiet with visitor wise on the stand at any point, who else is exhibiting that could be useful, and can we put a bit of a plan together for how we go and meet those people? Can we make some connections in advance that make those discussions a little bit more valuable when we're there? And then at the show, it's trying to cram as much of that activity in as you can within the 2 days of the show. And a very simple one on the follow-up for me is, or the post-show, is the amount of times that I've been to shows as a visitor, gone and spoken to 15 or 20 different vendors, and never ever hear from them again, and end up buying something that they're offering off somebody who actually bothered they've awoken an interest in me,
Mm-hmm.
but haven't followed up. So I've gone and bought it off someone else. So just making sure that you realize, I suppose, that the real return on investment only starts day after the show closes, to try and make sure that all that time and effort yields the return that you need to in order to make it justify itself.
Right. So what I heard, make goals and do your preparation, whether it's pre-contacting or pre-meeting with key people, certainly at the event, taking advantage of sort of all aspects that you can to make the connections that you intend, and then follow up.
100%. Yeah. And then follow up again.
When all else fails, go back to rule 1, follow up. No, it's great advice for sure. So one last question for you. So I'm seeing, because we go to events for a living and that's our business, I'm seeing a preponderance of people now post-COVID not carrying business cards. Is your recommendation to have business cards or not to have business cards?
I went no business cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
I went for this thing that was a bamboo card because it was tick the sustainability box as well. Had an NFC chip in it, and you're supposed to just hold it to somebody's phone and it opens up your link tree with all the contact details. When it works, it's amazing. But when it doesn't, it's really embarrassing. So I actually do both now.
Right.
And the business cards are the plan B.
Yeah. Well, so here's my view as somebody that goes to trade shows for a living. You spend how much money creating a brand, and you're not willing to hand it to somebody? I mean, the business card is like if somebody's willing to accept your logo, give it to them. Give them 10. But besides that, it's tangible. They can make notes on it, and there's a ton of other reasons. But gee whiz, they'll take your logo from you. Give it to them. Yeah.
I think the answer is that I think there is no one answer to it. I think it depends. A lot of it depends on what industry you're working in. I think a lot of the time, but people like that ritual, don't they? I think, of exchanging the cards. So.
Well, yeah, and so often from conversations there are actions, and if there's not an easy way to record the actions, to your last point about follow-up, you really stymie follow-up if it's not easy. So you might need an investor, you might need somebody who can help you in some way, or a prospect or whatever, but in all cases there's no point unless we can follow up. So anyway, enough of the soapbox, but this has been great, Peter. I really appreciate you taking the time. And for those that are going global or want more information on the event, we'll put the link and all the pertinent information in the description, as well as Peter's information. Certainly pre-connect with him so that you can learn more about his service and if it fits what you're doing or need as you expand globally. So thanks again, Peter. This was awesome.
No problem. Thank you, Bill.